Hi, y'all. We want to welcome you to this evening's event. We have our Pride in Tech panel. We're really excited to have y'all here. Thank you for joining. Tonight, we're going to be using the chat as the main source of communication. So if you want to switch that little blue button at the bottom from host and panelists to everyone, we can chat together. We will be sending out a recording of tonight's event within 3 business days. So if you miss anything, know that we will be sending that copy out along with the deck that we'll be using. And to get things started, let me introduce myself and Justin. Let's see. So, welcome to Pride in Tech. We're going to meet our hosts. I'm Corey Mickelson. I am the marketing events coordinator here at Flatiron School. So part of my job is hosting events like this, as well as workshops for people to get a better idea of like what Flatiron School is all about. And Justin, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Muzzy. I'm our senior community manager here in New York City. So I work closely with all of our students and teachers who are learning in person Monday through Friday with us on campus, hosting a variety of events like welcome and orientation events to networking and other opportunities for students to just learn more about what they can do with the skills that they're learning here. And I'm really excited to be joining everybody today. Yeah, super excited about it.
So today we're going to got our little welcome. We're meeting the panelists. We'll be having a moderated panel conversation, and then we'll have the audience Q&A at the end. So to get everything started, let's go ahead and start introducing ourselves. August, we'll have you go first.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm August, use they, them pronouns. I'm currently the Director of Data and Impact at Southwest Youth and Family Services in Seattle, Washington. Our work is really prioritizing how to help youth that are marginalized to have adequate resources to grow, get better education. We have lots of different programs and things that we run that cover a gamut of things that I could go into for a long time. But basically just working on making our society more equitable through the services that we provide, and I get to analyze it.
And then we can popcorn over to Brandon.
There, I'm Brandon. I'm a student here at Flatiron under the software engineering program. I also work within the talent acquisition space in tech as a recruiting coordinator. Yeah.
And M.
Hey y'all, I am also a student at Flatiron School in the software engineering program. I actually made a career transition from the performing arts as a dancer. So yeah.
I know I'm covering somebody's face. Sorry, y'all. Go into the corner. Let's see, Rita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany, but I go as Rita. I am an ex-Division I athlete. I played volleyball in college. I am currently a full-time model, and I'm also a student at Flatiron School, kind of not really making a career change, but a career addition. But yeah, that's me.
And let's see.
Hey everyone, my name is Lewis. I'm just gonna start introducing myself. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a data science student here at Flatiron. I am transitioning over from a career in nonprofit, specifically working with marginalized populations and homeless populations. And I am very excited to be on this panel. Thank you so much for having me.
Who do you want to popcorn it over to?
All right. Hey everyone, my name is Wael Gomaa. I'm Egyptian, living in Jersey City for the past 2 years. I'm a software engineering student in Flatiron. Recently graduated, like around 2 weeks ago. Used to study business back in Egypt, and I kind of had to drop that because of discrimination against people like us. And I had to leave the country pretty fast. I couldn't finish. So now I'm here. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Reito. I'm a Japanese. I moved to the US last year in December. I used to work in the sales and marketing back in Tokyo, and I wanted to change my career to do like something more like technical. So I decided to go to Flatiron School. I'm currently in a program for software engineering. I'm currently in the phase 4, and I use pronouns for he, him.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and we can get started. I monkeyed some things around, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with the first question. So why did you want to be on the panel? I know it takes a lot of courage to do something like this, and I want to celebrate and hear more about your motivations.
I'll kick this one off. This one isn't necessarily my first panel, but the last couple of times that I've done a Pride panel, every time I've like the words that have been discussed or any topics that are covered, a lot of people that end up watching, it causes an impact with them. And to me, that's something that I like to see, because if my voice is causing an impact, that means people are listening and either they're changing their perceptions or learning something new that they may have not known before.
That's kind of the same with me. I actually used to be the PR person for my college's huge LGBT plus organization that we had. And whenever I got a chance to speak, it was really nice because I saw how my words kind of resonated with a lot of different people. And then being also a student athlete, it was kind of cool to see other queer athletes kind of stand up and kind of feel more free to be themselves. So it's always nice to see your words kind of resonate in others and kind of just, you know, help make a change, whether it's helping someone learn something new or making someone feel like it's easier to be themselves.
If I can also jump in real quick, in this panel, because I couldn't do it years ago, because I've been, I don't know, gay since I can remember, and I was always trying to help others in the community. And in Egypt, it's not the best thing that you can do. I was always working in NGOs since I was like a teenager, but I was always like working from the shadows. I can't really stand somewhere and say I am this person and I'm trying to help others. You can't really do that. So I feel very proud to sit here and say I am that person and I am doing this right now.
These are going to be tough acts to follow, I can already tell. I am very excited to be on this panel today. It reminded me a bit about the work I did during the pandemic in a mutual aid network that I worked on. And it really affirms my belief that like among the community, we have all these relationships, and the more we can kind of give to each other, the more resources we'll all have kind of cumulatively. So for me, that's very important. And the second reason was the representation that I want to see in the world starts with me. And so I'm really glad that I can be here, and hopefully someone can be like, oh, someone who, I identify with is on this panel and give them some hope that they can do what they want to do with this career.
Honestly, I have never ever done something like this in my life, so I'm kind of nervous, but I am a Japanese person who is also immigrant and gay. I got married and I decided to move here, and I was just trying to pursue like a new career. And I'm sure there are some people who probably have like similar environmental experience like as me, and I just wanted to help those people. So I decided to join, yeah.
I think for me, just I've been on a couple other panels for Flatiron, but being able to showcase who I am alongside with the career I've gotten from my education with Flatiron is like having those things together. And also just, yeah, like the ease that of my experience within the Flatiron system. So being who I was, so just being able to talk about that.
Any other folks want to answer before we move on to our next question? It's not a requirement for our panelists to answer all of our questions, so there's no pressure at all. Okay, good. I appreciate all of you sharing those experiences and reasons for wanting to be on this panel. I can already tell my face is going to hurt by the end of this from smiling so much. So thank you very much for giving me a workout in that way. I appreciate it. And thank you in advance for all of the, just all that you're going to share with us tonight. Again, I know it takes a lot of bravery and courage to get up here and share our experiences and to really put ourselves forth like this, especially if it's not something we're used to. And I hope that our folks that are joining us today can learn a lot from all of you and just, feel more comfortable in who they are and want to be that voice or that person for somebody else like you all are hoping to be for folks today. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. August, because you are our only alum right now on this call, this question is very much directed to you. So you kind of have to answer it or else. Okay. But because you're a graduate of the bootcamp and you're out doing the work now, I think kind of a two-part question is just what made you want to pursue this career in tech and attend Flatiron School, and how are you using what you've learned in your program in the work that you're doing with your organization?
Sure. So, I mean, that can be a long story of why I chose to switch careers, but the short end of it was I was moving back after I moved back to America, I was overseas for a long time, moved back in 2018, and the great unlearning of our history and just wanting to be doing more for our work. My previous career was math education. I was working at a private school and just seeing the inequities that existed within our society that were even more like made worse through those kinds of institutions. And so wanting to take my math background and do something better and better for our society in general. And so that's when, and I also was like dabbling in Python. I was like, oh, there's a whole career that you can make out of this. Awesome. Let me go for it. So just, yeah, found Flatiron. And what I will say is I'm not using Python a lot in my role, but don't tell Jeff. But I am using just kind of the thinking that I learned through how to understand how data works and how the processes, and being able to support people in their work and how to make data work for them. And especially in the nonprofit industry, they don't have a lot of money to pour into their data. And so it's hard to make it as usable as, companies that are making tons of money. So being able to really bring that level of expertise into a sector that needs it is really valuable. And so just enjoying being able to help people make sense of what they're inputting every day, and make it, be able to use it for the decisions they're making in the future. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Let's see. So as y'all were looking to start your education, like within this tech and make this big jump, did you experience any specific obstacles? And were there anything that you were looking for in a program or in a school as far as like diversity goes? And then if so, can you share a bit about how you were able to push past the obstacles and things that you were looking for in your journey to your program?
I can take this one. So I think that I can speak to, since I still am in the beginning of my journey as a current student, phase 3, software engineering. I think that a lot of choosing a school, first of all, it's a little overwhelming just because there are so many options for boot camps out there. But Flatiron kept coming up with a lot of my colleagues who were making a career transition, and also a lot of my queer friends that have gone through the program. Similar to what August was saying before, like my experience has been super positive thus far as a queer person. And I'm hoping that it continues to be that way in like the workforce. Looking forward to experiencing that eventually. Yeah.
I think for me, it's been a lot of imposter syndrome. Just because with my background, I'm a mixed Mexican American, and I grew up in Laredo, which is a border town in Texas, up until I was about 10 or 11, and then in a small country town. So two very different dynamics of like communities and everything, but a lot of it also came with like the racism and colorism in education, where in some places it was like I was targeted for being the white kid in an all like Mexican school, and they're like, I had teachers that are like, well, we can't have him showing up, all these students, when that was never my intention. And then going to a small country town and saying, oh, well, you're from a border town, that means you have to go into special ed, which involved like a lot of arguing because my education level was like 2 years advanced from that. But a lot of that trauma kind of just like resonated as I was going through college and even this program, where it's like, am I good enough to do this? Like, am I smart enough? Are people going to start like accusing me of like cheating or something like? And I know that being in some of the other nonprofits like the Caria and out in tech, those conversations do happen with BIPOC groups, and sometimes it can be frustrating. But even for myself, like today, my biggest win was I learned something new towards the end of my phase 1 project. And I sat there and I was like, I can do this. Like, imposter syndrome can just yeet itself out the window.
I can pop in to say that I'm hearing a lot of stuff that's resonating with my own experience, in so much as I had a lot of obstacles with stereotypes about intelligence, and I had a lot of mythos kind of built around my own intelligence from a young age of like, oh, he's good at this, that means he's not good at math. He's not good at math, that means he's not going to be good at working with data. And I would encourage everyone to kind of listen to these stories. And if you want to work with data, that's all you need in terms of the go-to-itiveness and the stick-to-itiveness. And I just want to share that really emphatically as someone who stopped their math education at like 10th grade level and didn't pick up math again until I was preparing for my data science course. And I prepared with Khan Academy, and it was a really big challenge, but I was able to surmount it with the help of a lot of theater kids and language nerds and people who are also not good at math, but who can kind of bridge the gap with me so that we can do the data things.
I was once told by somebody that you were supposed to wait 7 seconds. So I like to just incorporate long, awkward pauses to make sure that no one will feel so uncomfortable they'll feel compelled to also share. So Corey, didn't mean to cut you off there. Just injecting a little humor into the silence. Anybody else want to share about, kind of their decision to come to Flatiron, or what sorts of things, were hurdles that they felt like they had to overcome to get here?
I'll actually share mine because I feel like after writing like a whole blog post about it, a lot of people also agreed with it. I think my biggest limiting belief was that, oh, I am a college dropout, so there's no way I could ever get a role in tech. And then after doing so much research, I realized that, oh, hey, I can actually do this. And I think that was like a huge limiting belief for mine for a very long time, that, oh, because I only did, I think, 2.5 years of college, and decided that it wasn't for me. And I think, even though like I'm very happy as a model, unfortunately, modeling, it can be very wishy-washy when it comes to when you're getting paid. And I wanted to also have a steady flow of income from another career as well alongside it. And the biggest thing I was looking for in another career was, what can I do that I love that also isn't going to be limiting me because I don't have a college degree? And I realized that entering tech, especially through a boot camp, it would really work out for me. So for anybody else who is a college dropout like me, you can do it.
Okay. I'd like to apologize in the beginning, because it would feel like every sentence I'll start would be because I'm an immigrant, because of that. And it's not an immigrant panel, it's an LGBT panel, but that's my experience. I've only been in America for 2 years, said it again. So it feels like this is my experience. I would like to add to what Louis said, because I used to be called quote unquote creative when someone wants to hint that you're not built for the certain amount of education. And I would like to say that this is like incredibly wrong. It's just education is different for every single person. Everyone would study in a certain way, and hearing about Flatiron and trusting Flatiron to start this whole career shift was because of me learning of how much they use different styles of education. So you would have recorded videos and lectures and the actual like data that you're studying and teams, and it was good because, I don't know, also the language barrier for a new English speaker, say it again, it's important to feel like this spectrum of versatile education ways that you can try. And that was something also very cool about Flatiron. And that they also take immigrants. It's not a lot of schools does that. I applied to so many things, and not all schools are as easygoing as Flatiron. They only care about really IQ, and they don't really care about my immigration status. I'm legal in the country, but not all schools can see that as okay to study. So I always thought I would start my life in my 30s, and so I'll start going back to school at my 30s. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like a plan. I would like to retire at 30. So that was not what I was looking for. So Flatiron also is great at that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And please, please, please never apologize for telling your story in the way that feels most authentic to you. I think we're all here to learn from each other. And so we want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable sharing every part of who they are. And being an immigrant is a very important part of your story. And we're very thankful that you want to share it with us. So please don't apologize for that. I feel like we've been really talking a lot about like coming to Flatiron and doing that, but this is Pride in Tech. It's Pride Month. We're getting ready to celebrate Pride here in New York City. I know many cities across the country have been having their own Pride celebrations over the past few weeks. And so hopefully this is an easy question before we dive too much deeper into that. But for folks who feel comfortable sharing, I'd love to get a sense for what Pride means to you, or what, when you hear Pride Month, what are some of the things that come to your mind? And if you want to share, what are ways that you've been celebrating and engaging with the LGBTQ plus community during Pride Month this year? I think just a fun way to talk about being queer and all the fun that we get to have in the month of June.
I'll start off. So for me, Pride is in whatever way you want, being unapologetically yourself. I mean, I'll just go ahead and share my little mini story. I was questioning my sexuality back in high school, but didn't really think about it until my freshman year of college, when one of the first friends I made ended up being my girlfriend for the next 5 years. Identified as gay for those 5 years, and then ended up realizing I was bi about a year into living in New York and having to combat my own internal biphobia that I didn't even realize I had. And after kind of really coming into myself and realizing exactly all that I am, it's really nice to be able to celebrate Pride Month and just being who you are, no matter what you identify as, no matter how you present yourself. I just think it's awesome to see everybody of all different shapes, sizes, colors, just celebrating all together and just having a really good time. And I've been celebrating Pride by going to the club. So New York gay clubs are fun.
I love that. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. My favorite thing about Pride is I had a friend that used to be in the closet that called the entire month his Halloween, because he would dress in the rainbows, because during Pride Month, rainbow galore and everything, and he could blend in and look like an ally. But in reality, he was having the time of his life because he could be out, but not out at the same time. And I always found that so funny when he told me. I was like, that's genius. Like, I could have just been blending in with the straight people for a while and then just come out if I wanted to. And it eventually gave him the courage to come out too, like once he started seeing certain things, because he couldn't go when he was younger, because he was like I said, from a small country town. He was kind of like in that religious community, so it was his way to sneak away from it. And then once he was like in college, he was able to like fully pull himself away from it and then just come out. But that's something that like I enjoy hearing and seeing different people, like how they interpret Pride for themselves, whether they're in the closet or just out and about. Even for me, like I'll amplify my gayness like to the 10 billion. I'm like, I'm already out and about, but during Pride Month, no one can yell at me because I'm going to just push you out of the way and say, move, I'm gay.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead.
Oh,
You got
sorry.
it. Go for it.
Well, I never ever celebrated Pride Month in my life before, because like it's not something that we do in Japan. Instead, we have a Tokyo Pride, but that's like in the end of April, and that's like for only on the weekend. But anyway, since it's my first Pride Month, I have been, well, I mean, it's kind of grateful because like since I started going to the Flatiron school, I made so many friends at school, even though I didn't know anybody in New York City before. And actually, I'm celebrating this week's Pride in New York City with my friends from the school. So I think that's another cool thing about going into like Flatiron school is like you can make a lot of friends and don't worry about being a queer, because like everybody, I feel like everybody supports you here. And look at this, like we are doing like Pride in Tech panel thing too. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So I grew up in a very conservative background and didn't come out till my 30s. So yeah, I'm older than all y'all, which I'm realizing real quick. Um, but you know what? Flatiron takes old people too, so no big deal. Just gotta hide your grace. No, I'm kidding. But really Pride is just, yeah, I just remember going to the first Seattle Pride in 2019, and then that was my first and only Pride because then everything shut down. So, but just like, I think anytime I also go to a WNBA game, it also feels like Pride because that's where we all hang out. And so just like being in that place where you're just surrounded by us, right? By our community. There's nothing like it. It's just that overwhelming feeling of like, man, wow. And I feel so alone for so long. And now I feel so like alive with people.
Well, oh, sorry, Liz. Sorry. Okay. So this should be my second Pride in America or in general since I've been here. And for like the first one, I had this feeling. So I was marching because I was boring and I was having $15 margarita from a anonymous guy in the backpack. So that was dangerous, but I loved it. And it was great. It was watered down. So I kept having this feeling as I'm marching, and I found this Arabic community, and I had this feeling of, since from 11 years old to like 14, 15, I'm unapologetically gay, and I'm so proud of it. And I never genuinely knew that it was a mistake for other people or a sin for other people. And I just genuinely thought like, okay, I'm the only gay person ever out there, and that's cool, and I like it. And then the unfortunate truth, and I was just like, oh shoot, people don't like me. I didn't know that. So when I was marching for the first time, I had this feeling again of I'm unapologetically me, and I like it, and people can suck it. And for this year, I was like, no, I don't feel like it. I'm over the gays. I don't want to do anything. And I realized that if 2 years ago me saw me saying this, he would slap me across my face, strip me naked, and push me to march again. So that's exactly what I'll be doing. I would go out there and I would say we're queer. Get used to it. So lame, but I like it. And thank you.
I celebrate Pride with making lists where tech people, I know that I'm not the only list maker. I like making lists on my birthday, I like making lists New Year's Eve, and I like making lists on Pride as like my 3 holidays. And I remember years and years ago, before I was out to myself fully as a trans man, I was thinking, oh, well, if I could go into this mystical, elevator and come out completely passing, then I would want gauged ears and I'd want, yes, I am a Virgo. I'm not supposed to talk about it because I'm a data scientist now, but yes, total Virgo. And September 1st is my birthday. Yes, indeed. And about lists, I think it's really awesome to make lists of like who you want to be when you grow up, even when you're grown up. So I remember thinking, oh, I want to have shaved head and I want to have gauged ears and I want to wear, this kind of shirt. And I can look back on my list and say, yes, I wanted to go into tech. I wanted a career where I could be out and I could be trans and I could thrive. And I would encourage everyone to like make a Pride bucket list of like, who do you want to be proud of next year? Be that person this month.
You got anybody else that wants to add anything before we move to our next question?
For fear of having to follow that, I just wanted to add that I really think that like doing stuff like this where we're connecting with fellow community members and also taking the time to reflect kind of what Lewis was saying and appreciate how far we've come and the people that have come before us, and then also like appreciate the people that will come after us and try and make it like better and cooler for them. I don't know, that's kind of like Pride Month for me.
I love that. And I think it was Brandon, you were talking about your friend who always would like wear all of the rainbows. Pride Month is very hard for my wallet because, you know, you slap a rainbow on most things, I'm probably going to buy it. But I think, you know, we talk a lot about like how far we've come and where like we still need to go. But I literally saw a tweet from the official NASCAR account that was like, YASCAR, and they have their own Pride Month campaign, right? So like, and my partner used to work for the WWE and they have a Pride campaign as well. So I feel like there are these spaces that are often associated with things that feel very anti-LGBT, and they are now celebrating Pride, right? So I think that idea of progress and recognizing even those small steps are so important. So I love a list. I love a reflection. I think this has been, I love it all. So thank you for sharing all that.
I will say that some of the Pride merch that has come out over the last couple of years needs to be flagged as a hate crime, like Targets this year. I have some questions as to what it was. There was some, I was like, why is a majority of it Schitt's Creek? Like, I know that Schitt's Creek's funny, but there's more than just Schitt's Creek.
It was all Will and Grace in the 90s. So, you know, we're slowly but surely moving on. As we're all talking about it being cancer season and all of the emotions, this is going to be the heavy hitter, I say, of the evening. So, you know, coming out is truly a lifelong process. I don't know everybody that's ever had to do it. We all do it in our own way, and it can be positive, and for other people it can be other experiences. What has your experience been like, being out in like the workplace, being out at school? Do you feel like you're able to be safely out and be able to do your work and be able to pursue your education?
I'll kick this one off. So for me, coming out was like a two-parter. I was a very, very shy kid as a teenager and everything, just because I was dealing with some trauma and everything. But in some ways, I know a lot of people knew in high school that I was probably gay, and I just didn't know it because I was dealing with the identity crisis of my ethnic origins. Because I did have like that Mexican family that they were like, don't speak Spanish, don't do this. But I was very much so pushy against that, where I was like, I want to learn Spanish. I don't not want to know my own like origins and my own language and my own culture. So I was dealing with that divisiveness at home. And then once I got to college and I finally started seeing like the real world for what it kind of was versus like the secluded small country town that I was in, it sort of allowed me, one, to explore that part and be like, okay, I can be okay with that. And then it kind of just led into a domino effect, where I came out and my brain was just having the hardest time computing like both identities. Are like, okay, well, I'm gay in a Catholic home. Like, how is my family going to react to this? And thankfully, they all reacted positively. My grandma was probably the funniest one because even to this day, she tells me I remind her of one of her gay friends when she was younger, and she has dementia now. So sometimes she'll talk to me like I'm that gay friend, and I'm like, I don't need to know your stories, Grandma. Sometimes you're scaring me. But after I came out, it was sort of like my personality just changed, and I went from being that shy kid to just no longer caring what people think. And then it came in like two parts. Like, I worked on more of my queer identity and just not caring what other people think. Like, I'm gonna walk with my hips. I don't care if you don't like that. If that makes you uncomfortable, don't look at it. I'm going to talk with a higher pitched voice, is what some people have told me, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I can't control my voice. Like, do you want me to talk in a deeper, weird, fake voice? Like, I can't do it. And then once I got comfortable with that, then it allowed me to further explore like my Mexican identity and understand like, okay, I can speak Spanish and I can just not care. Like, I speak Spanglish, and I know it irritates like some people in the workforce. I'm like, I don't care. And usually with me not caring that much, it allows other people to be comfortable with themselves to not care either. I've had some coworkers that Black coworkers, especially, will thank me because they are able to use African American vernacular in the workforce, and no one can say anything. Because if someone does, I actually do like the death glare, not intentionally. It's just like the inner Latina in me just comes out. It's like, are you gonna say something? Because if you are, I'm about to talk in full blown novella Spanish and everything. But that's just been like where I've been in my journey. I know a lot of people, like, their coming out may have not been easier, but mine just had like that intersectionality of like my ethnic origin and my sexuality.
For me, oh, go ahead.
Sorry again. Okay. So coming out isn't sitting down on a couch and the mom, dad. No, never had to go through one of these, and I've always felt like I'm missing something from the gay experience. Like, oh, I need to be kicked out of the house once in a while to like be reminded. But then I realized that I already got kicked out of the house either ways. Because turns out they don't like me for not being gay, they just don't like me as a person, which is great. But coming to America, it's a lot of people in Egypt obviously thought that I am gay from just how I am as a person, which you would say like I would still, as you call it, straight passing over there. But then I came here and I kind of created like another social presence where I had like some social media accounts, and I had some people like, okay, you guys know I'm gay, right? I'm gay, ta-da, whatever. And it was great to just decide to be who you are, or like come out to the people who matter, because technically I don't really care to come out to every single person, because technically I don't care about them either. So you don't really need to love that, but yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For me, I had a multiple part coming out, I guess. So like I said before, I was a D1 athlete in college, and my coach actually outed me to my teammates and my parents. So I actually partially, one, because I was extremely injured, broke my back in high school, so I had a lot of residual pain and injuries that followed up, but also because my mental health got completely like smashed to pieces. That's actually why I ended up quitting my college sports career. So yeah, I got outed to my parents, and that made things, it's fine. It has made me a much stronger person nowadays. I ended up kind of like not even like trying to say anything bad about my parents, because I love them to death. Like they're all like LGBT forward now. I love them. They kind of like tightened their grip on me because at the time they saw, oh, she's suddenly gay. She's not playing sports, which she's been doing her whole life, and she is just doing all these things that we've never seen her do before. And I'm the only child, so they kind of like tried to tighten their grip on me, which had an adverse effect because I felt so constricted and suffocated, and nothing was going about the right way. So I actually ended up not getting kicked out, but moving out just randomly one day. And then eventually that lasted only maybe about a year, because my parents didn't like their only child being away, and they wanted to try and make things right. So all in all, that ended out well. So my second coming out was kind of me just coming out to people that I cared about, like close friends. I made a post on Facebook because I'm like, I want to come out so that other people feel like it's okay too, because I always saw a lot of people that I was friends with talk about just like being too afraid to come out for similar reasons as me, or just other reasons, or just by belief. I came out to my family members. My grandma was actually hilarious because I came out to her And she's like, okay, and she's like, that's fine, who cares? And so that made me feel like so much more relieved. And then, of course, I ended up realizing I was not gay and I was pan. So then there was kind of like, oh, hey guys, never mind, rewind. This is actually what's going on. So now, I mean, if anyone ever asks, I'm happy to share, but I just bring it up if it's relevant in conversation or if it's someone I just care about. And I haven't really had any issues. Thankfully, everyone has always been, well, not always, but has recently been super supportive. And like, I have a whole community, and just, I saw a lot of my high school teammates and college teammates actually come out as gay. And one of them actually just got married to her wife. So I'm super happy for her. So it's just nice to see that I was never truly alone. It's just that we were all hiding.
I'd really
Yeah.
love to piggyback. Sorry, go ahead.
No, oh, you can go ahead.
I'd love to piggyback off of what Reito was saying. I had some bullies when I was in school, and I think that's a very, very common experience. I think a lot of the reasons why I was pushed into the more creative sort of stereotypes of intelligence, as Wael was kind of talking about, was kind of because those creative sort of intelligence for like, oh, well, you can go do that and go be queer over there, and the people who, you know, are going to be good at math are going to be like the, you know, I was growing up in the 90s. So when I was growing up in public school in New York City, getting bullied every day, it was like, you know, the specifically white, specifically boys will be good at math and everyone else can kind of fend for themselves. And growing up as a closeted trans man being bullied every day, I specifically remember thinking things like, you know, what if I'm already so hidden and I'm already trying so hard to be someone else as a survival mechanism? I'm already trying so hard to be the least amount of visibly queer just so that they can't find anything on me, so that they can't, you know, find out anything about, you know, more personal than they already have, you know, bully fodder for. And it really turned me into an adult that comes out as like a defense mechanism of like, all right, I'm out, and if you have a problem with it, you're going to let me know pretty immediately, aren't you? And that's kind of been my strategy, specifically in tech, as I've been kind of in the tech industry. In so much as I've been in the tech industry, I led my Flatiron interview and my Flatiron essay with, as a trans man, I really want to be in technology, and I really want to be in my trans community within technology. And leading with that and using it as a force and a foil and a part of inner strength, for me, is kind of the most important part about being out. It's something that other people might say is a weakness, or as Brandon was saying, it might be something that other people try and poke holes into, is what I was getting, and try and take me down a peg for. It's something that I am so stubbornly proud of these days that it's almost a dare. I think it's become a very, very important part of how I market myself, both personally and professionally. And I want to let anyone who is listening to this know that you can let being out be a strength if you want it to.
Yeah, I think for me, coming out, at the time I was working for a religious-based organization overseas, and I met my wife, and that became problematic real fast. So we actually had to make our escape plan, so we wouldn't have it show up that we got fired, and dated incognito for quite a while, and just let people assume naivety a lot of times in those spaces, and we played on that a lot. And so we got out of there, and so that was the coming out with sexuality, and that was a huge change. It was a place I worked for over 10 years and had to leave it, just to be myself, and basically I've cut all ties with, I have alumni that, as a teacher, they keep in touch with me, and they thank me. And so I was the first staff of that organization to come out. And since then there's been, kids being able to share more of who they are, and taking that first step definitely was rough. But getting to move to a place like Seattle, which is very much on the other side of accepting, and they're like, oh, of course you're queer, you're in Seattle, like that's where we are. It's just assumed. But then within that, being able to really come to reconcile my gender identity as well as non-binary. And I actually did in my previous organization, I did my name switch with them, and my pronoun switch, and just had a lot of really great allies that were immediately correcting people in meetings and just always on it for me. So I never had to do that for myself. And coming into this role, same. It's just, there's people that mess up pronouns, but if you have, other people in the meeting that are like, just immediately like, it just is a totally different experience than, so it's been a long journey. And I think, I started to adopt the inviting in versus coming out, and that, with the gender, coming out is more like, I'm inviting these people into my journey, and anybody else, if they just see my name change, they can figure it out. Like I don't have to talk to them or make it something that I need to reveal. But if there are people that I choose for myself to come in, they can come into my community.
My coming out story is, in a way, it's kind of weird, I guess. I don't know. But I came out when I was in the middle school, and I was kind of very, well, not kind of, but I was very rebel. I was not a good student at the time. And I had a time that I was very rebel, and I didn't even go to school. And the fact is that I actually had a boyfriend at the time, and I was staying at my boyfriend's place. And all of a sudden, I just came back to my house, and then my mom was gonna ask me like, "What were you doing?" And I was like, "I was at my boyfriend's place." And then like I thought she was gonna say something about like being gay, and then she was like, "I don't care who you are, but like you gotta go to school." So I'm very lucky to have my parents supporting me and my friends supporting me a lot. And I've been out like very openly since then. So I was working in some companies in Japan. I've been out at work also. But I feel like in Japan, in these things, are a little bit like kind of behind. So even I knew like people were supporting me, but like it's not something that they do like this thing. Like for example, like Pride in Tech panel, or like LGBTQ events. So it was in a way a little bit like weird, but like also people were like very accepting, which was nice. But since I moved to the US, I feel like I feel more welcome, and like it's very open here. And like I say, like I'm going to like the Pride March with my friends from Flatiron School. So that can be said, like, all of the people at the Flatiron School that I met, they're very like accepting about who I am. And I feel very, very comfortable being here, yeah.
Okay, I've given you all a very fast 7-second stare down to make sure that nobody else wants to share. I thank you all for sharing those stories. I know it's a very personal process, and I loved the idea of August that you shared inviting in versus coming out and sort of choosing who you want to share those pieces with and letting others figure it out on their own time if they even have the energy or kind of care to do so. I love that reframing of that. So thank you so much for that way of thinking about that process, because I think we put a lot of emphasis on coming out, and that's such a softer way to talk about it. I'm going to throw caution to the wind, Corey, and I apologize. I'm just going to do my own thing here, so my bad. Because I know that we're coming up towards the end of our time, and there are a couple other questions that I want to get, but I also want to open it up to any of our friends who are here joining us to ask. So I think within you all sharing your coming out stories, you talked a lot about this idea about being your authentic self, and just whether that means, you share more or less with folks, or just being who you are and unapologetically being so is important to you. And it's important to you at Flatiron, and I'm sure and once you get out into the workforce. In August, I know in being our alum who's out there doing work using what you learned at Flatiron School, being your authentic self is important in that. And so as folks who are in our program and potentially talking to people who are thinking about joining Flatiron School, what advice would you give to people about being their authentic self and overcoming that imposter syndrome that some of you may have felt or are currently feeling, so that they can be successful in the program while being true to who they are?
I want to start off this one.
You want to kick it off? Okay.
All right, I'll pass it to you after.
No worries.
So, literally, do not be afraid. My cohort is like my family at this point. I love them so much. Everybody is so unique, but we all have, we'll all sit in Discord, because we made a whole Discord channel. We'll all sit in Discord and just chat for hours, or play video games together, give anime recommendations, or just, everyone's so great. Don't be afraid to come into the school. You're gonna, obviously you may not be as lucky as me and get a whole cohort full of amazing individuals that you just mix with so well, but you're gonna have a lot of people that you meet, whether it's in your cohort or just other students in the school, that you just know that you're gonna make lifelong friends with. And then when it comes to imposter syndrome, I think what I realized, and what a lot of people quickly realize, is that by the second phase, you're sitting there in stand up and stand down, and a lot of people are talking about how they're like, oh my God, I have no idea what's going on, or oh my God, I'm so stressed. And then you start realizing, okay, I'm not the only person here going through this, and we're all stressing out, and we're all going through this this grind together, especially if you're in the full immersion course where everything is speeding by super quickly. But don't let imposter syndrome smack you down. We're all going through it. We're all feeling the same thing. It's not, you're not any less of a person for being stressed out in the course. You're just being human.
Yeah, I just want to remind you all, imposter syndrome is born out of the society that tells us that patriarchy and white supremacy are what is the norm, and this is not the norm. We are the norm, and we are here. This isn't, more people are like us than are not like us, right? And so the reality is we have to break down that idea that we have to fit a mold of a white cis het male to get a job. And because that's BS. I don't know what kind of language we're using here, but I just think that's where imposter syndrome is rooted. And so to call that out and say, no, that's not how the world exists, and we're not gonna stand for it. And by being willing to put yourself out there and try something new and risk a career change or trying something different, that's you being you, and you're more than allowed to do that. We need you to do that. If you're thinking about it, then do it, because we need you in these roles.
To piggyback off of that too, in college, I took a diversity comms class, and my professor's advice to everyone, but specifically allies, was always to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable, because it is not a queer person, a Latinx person, an Asian person's job to make you comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, then it's up to you to digest and or dissect that discomfort to figure out why, because it's not my responsibility to change who I am to make you comfortable. So that's something that I recommend to people, is just like, even when you can even adopt that, like with this situation, like there's going to be situations where you're coding and it's going to stress you out and you're going to feel like you're uncomfortable because you're out of your element and everything. But if you're uncomfortable, then you're challenging yourself, and that's always a good thing. There's nothing wrong with you hitting a roadblock. Then ask questions, ask for help. Like that's something I know that Flatiron's always telling us to do. Google, ask for help, talk to your instructors, talk to your classmates. So that's a way to apply it. And then another thing that I've done, especially with imposter syndrome, I just read a book called Badass Habits by Jen Sincero. And in it, like, she basically sets up a 21-day plan where you break down your habits. But the way that I took it is part of it's like setting up a mantra for yourself, to where like you get up and you say this every day, so you have something positive to look forward to, and then just continue challenging yourself to sort of break the procrastination habit or something else. Like mine, I have it in Spanish, but I say con ganas y se puede. So with passion, you can do this. And that's just how I keep going. I'm like, all right, I know I can do this. I've gotten this far. I'm already on phase 2.
You know how, like, as Brandon was saying with the diversity class, I would also like to say to never accept anything less. You've been hearing straight people's stories, and you've been hearing like everything really being dominated by straight white men for so many years. A diversity class looks nice, but when the team is still all white men, is just something that they use for marketing to say, oh, we also like everyone, but they still would hire white people. And from a country that I'm from, and you can just get K-word for basically being different, for just opinions or anything. It felt like I don't really care if the person in front of me is mistreating me, as long as they're accepting a certain part of my personality. Like, yeah, no, this person kills people, but he's also like very nice to me sometimes. So like my standards were underground. It was awful. And now, like, it's an awful thing to do. And you just need to never accept less. People need to hear your stories. Cartoons has to talk about other people, movies and jobs, and they put the diversity classes and they say we accept everyone, but they unfortunately not always do. And you need to sit down in a room, and this is something that I do right now, that I don't even want to invest any time in it with people who don't accept others. So I would sit in a room, and the first thing I would say, like, oh, so what do you think of women's rights? So are you with or against abortion? So like, let me know if you're racist. So like, I would like ask a couple of questions when I sit in a room the moment I meet a bunch of new people, to just kind of see if they're the kind of people that I want to be associated with. And this is something that was thankfully in my cohort, where people were incredibly amazing from so many other places, and they were all just awesome in their own way. So yeah, never accept any less. Thank you.
Just really quickly, I'm so sorry. Just really fast. I feel like the best way to kind of be your authentic self is also by allowing other people to be their authentic selves. And if you're feeling safe and like you've done enough work on your personal journey, like be visible. And so like even whether it be like a queer person or like you're struggling with coding, because if you speak up, it gives other people permission to do so as well. And so then you're already kind of counteracting capitalism. Okay, I'm done.
I am really thinking back about my first few weeks at Flatiron, and in the data science course, at least for me personally, but I think this is a popular opinion, the second phase is one of the hardest. So I'm just thinking about August, you were saying, or and Rita, you were saying, you know, by the second phase, you can see that we're all stressed and we're all just trying to put our projects together. For me, the thing that helped me out the most was leaning into that discomfort and leaning into my identity and saying like, I'm gonna be weird and I'm gonna be queer and I'm gonna be loud and I'm gonna ask 1,000 questions and I'm gonna ask people to repeat themselves if I don't understand what they said the first time. And that attitude was really empowering for me. And don't be afraid to be that person. As Em was just saying, I think that there can sometimes be some shyness. So being someone that asks questions can empower other people to ask questions as well, especially in the course. I really do believe that you are the best thing that you can bring to this program. And that includes all of who you are, and that includes all of the things you don't know yet. Because I think when I first started this course, I was like, I have to know how to program before I can, you know, be in this course so that I can prove to all these other people who are learning that I know, you know, what I'm supposed to know. And that's not a realistic expectation, and learning can be kind of gritty. So that is my best advice, is lean into yourself, lean into your identity. That will help with the imposter syndrome.
All right, so I think our panelists have handled enough heat from us and answered our hard-hitting questions and provided us with a lot of words of wisdom. I know we've seen some questions coming in the chat from folks, so I want to make sure that we get a chance to really dive deeper into those. And then if anybody else who's still here with us has any questions they want to ask, please drop those in the chat. We've got a couple of minutes. So I just want to circle back to the one, Kristen, you asked, did anyone find that you didn't get interviews for revealing or sharing? If I put that I'm non-binary and queer, I found I don't hear back. I know a few folks have shared thoughts in the chat, but I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to either add more context or add some thoughts to that before we take other questions.
I know I already wrote out a response in the comments, but I kind of want to share a small experience I had that was kind of the inverse of it. So I'm like very straight passing, and unless I'm straight up just saying, hey, I'm queer, people just assume I'm straight. And so at a job I had mid-pandemic, actually at a few jobs I've had where it just casually comes up in conversation that I'm queer. And then suddenly my boss or manager or whoever higher up is kind of like taken aback by it or like surprised by it or has a weird sort of vibe about it. And I'm like, I don't want to be around that. So I quickly started updating like my LinkedIn and like my resume to kind of like have things in there that says, hey, I'm queer. I'm not your casual straight gal. Because I'd much rather someone trash my resume for me being queer, queer, Black, whatever, because my name is also very white passing. I'd much rather them pass me up and I not have to be in an environment where I'm not wanted or not accepted, and find a job that is the perfect match for me, where I'm surrounded by people that like me for who I am and are looking at my qualifications and are going to see me as an intelligent person who's coming there to work, rather than, oh no, we're putting queerness or blackness or whatever into our company. Oh gosh, this is gonna be a show. I'd much rather find that great fit for me rather than try and wriggle my way into a society that doesn't want me.
Coming from the talent acquisition space, and one thing that especially I learned from Gen Z, because it's been like a huge amplification from them, is before I know that the job market's hot right now. There's layoffs happening left and right with some companies, but always make sure there are a few things that you can do to like make sure the company is inclusive. Like if someone emails you, a lot of times those that are being inclusive will include the pronouns in their email signature and everything. Look for the diversity statements, but when you look at them, make sure that sexual orientation is the right word, is included in there, because it doesn't need to be required to be put in there, especially in the United States. It does not need to be, but some companies will just put it in there. And then a huge one is looking at how the company presents themselves, both internally and externally. Like that's where your networking comes in. Like if you see the companies doing stuff for Pride Month, are they just doing it for Pride Month, or are they also doing internal stuff? Like how are their benefits look? What are they doing internally to engage their employees from a DEI lens? Like, are they doing like ally training? Are they doing certain things? Like those are things that you want to ask questions on, just to make sure that you go in, because if you don't hear from a company after you said your pronouns or you came out to them, essentially, that's a red flag. Like for me, that's an immediate red flag. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to go there. Another one is how they communicate with you. I've had some tell me, oh, so you're gay, that would help us a lot. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean that would help you a lot? Like, does the government give you money? Because I want some of that too, because I'm poor. So you always just want to make sure you catch those, and just like I know job hunting sucks. Like I've been there and I'm still there sometimes, where it's like, I don't want to keep applying. I don't, but researching just to make sure that you're in a safe place is always just as important too.
Yeah, I mentioned networking, looking at if there's queer employees at the companies you're applying to. And then also, like, even if I'm not really active in the LinkedIn groups, but I join queer LinkedIn groups so that when recruiters see you, they see that that's part of it, and actually like get reached out to by, more queer affirming companies, and also companies that are tokenizing. So, hit or miss, but it's just what it is. But yeah, I think having, when I interviewed for this position, on the panel was another queer non-binary person, and they were able to like speak to that of like, hey, as someone, like I can tell you, like, here's my experience. And so that was really like, oh, like, great. I know it's gonna be not perfect, but better.
Any other questions for our panelists? Well, we've still got a few more minutes with them. I know it's been almost an hour and a half, so I give everybody kudos for being able to answer all of our questions and for being so engaged. All right, Corey, I'm going to turn it over to you to help us wrap things up.
Okay, well, I just wanted to first thank everybody, our panelists. You're so brave for coming and sharing all of your stories. I really appreciate you, and everybody else that joined in tonight. Justin, thank you again for co-hosting. I don't think I would have been able to do it without you. So just kind of wrapping it up, if you guys have any questions about Flatiron School, I'm going to drop some links in the chat for our amazing admissions team. And as a reminder, you're going to receive a copy of tonight's presentation within 3 business days after our event. And we'll also be posting this to YouTube. So if you want to see any previous events or see kind of like what our courses are like, we have all of our workshops on there. That'll be on our YouTube channel as well. And I'll put those in the chat right now. The little deck that I created, I'm not gonna have enough time to go over everything, but I will be sending that out as well with the YouTube video. And there's some more information on there about us. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys. Does anybody have any closing remarks they'd like to make before we say farewell?
For that final project, you guys got this. You can do this. Choose something you want to work on. That's my biggest advice. Don't choose something that you're like, maybe I'm interested in. It's got to be something you're passionate about, because otherwise you're going to get burned out real fast. But you got it. You can make it. I made it through. I started before the pandemic, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom. So you got this. You can do it.
Happy Pride.
Right.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone.
And a late happy Juneteenth.
And
Of course.
amen to that as well.
Everybody.
And please bring your queer selves to Flatiron because I want to be friends.
And if any of you are in New York City and are going to Pride at the end of the month, hit me up. Let's all meet up. Go to Pride.
I was telling Justin I'm still very sad that I'm not going to be there this year. Last year was my first Pride in New York City because I was there for an internship, and I have been crying every day that I'm not in New York. So please have all of the fun for me as well.
My last thoughts would be, please join in the Flatiron community, but also please check out in Tech, Lesbians Who Code. There are so many different organizations who are trying to increase queer diversity, and these organizations are not perfect, and I'm not trying to say that they are, but they would be more perfect with you in them.
Excellent. Well, thank everybody for being here, and best of luck on the rest of your programs, and congratulations to August and their new role. It's always amazing going in that director. And we will catch you next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.